Good morning, viewers and listeners of Concerned Citizens Media. Thank you for coming back. Uh, I was away for a while. I couldn't give you, the everyday updates happening in Ethiopia and beyond. So apologies for that. Uh, but usually is no good news to report. As always, tragic news. So today is August the 10th, 2023. We'll come back. So I try to update you from now on. It's very hard to do it. Journalism is very tough. It requires a lot of preparation. I need assistance. I don't have anyone to help me. So it's a lot of challenge with work, family, a lot of things. Anyway, uh, thank you for coming back to Concerned Citizens Media. So Ethiopia, uh, again, in a circle of uh, civil war. Uh, the government is waging another war against its own citizens. So Oromia, the war in Oromia started immediately after this Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, came to power in 2018. And we have no independent report about that war, how many died, how many injured, what are the property damage, you know, uh, it's very, very difficult to know because this prime minister and the Prosperity Party has, adopted a policy of denying journalism and the journalists to do their job. So no international media are reporting about the war in Ethiopia, and no local news report about this thing. We have FANA, Ethiopia Broadcasting Corporation, Walta, OBN, Amara Television, all are, they are not allowed to report about the war. So it's a very, very difficult situation to know exactly how many died, how many injured, what are the destruction on the properties, especially in Oromia. Nothing new, nothing known. And then uh, the Tigray region suffered, a devastation for 2 years is a blockade in a very serious war, waged by Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. Uh, you know, it's all reported thanks to some international news. More than a million people died, and the genocide reported. Other human rights violations recorded, and property destruction. All these are recorded in a much better way than the Oromia region. So it was horrible. It was horrible. And now we have the turn is the Amara region. The Amaras at home, especially the elite at home, and those in diaspora stood with Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed when Oromos were suffering and when the Tigrans were suffering. They stood behind him and encouraged him, supported him financially, morally, politically. But now the consequences of that support is coming to them. They were silent. They were silent when the Tigrayans were targeted by Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and the Prosperity Party. Just by being Tigrayans, they were massively detained from Addis Ababa and other major cities and small towns. And so the Amara elites and in the diaspora, they were silent during that time. Now, the same situation is happening on Amaras, and the Amaras are now massively detained from Addis Ababa just by being from that ethnic group. So this is a very tragic scene we have experiencing in Ethiopia. We are witnessing under Abiy Ahmed leadership. It's never happened before. People arrested, detained, investigated based on the suspicion of crimes, not based on the ethnicity. So this is a new reality in Ethiopia. Very bad uh, example. It's very bad, tragic. So the war is ongoing in Amara region, and the region is under emergency declaration for at least 6 months, and the internet is on and off, and no media is allowed to give us independent report what is happening, how many civilians killed, how many Fanos injured, how many Fanos killed. So we don't know. And uh, the Fano and the militias associated with them almost took over the region in coordination with Amara Prosperity Party. This is clear. They make it easy for the Fano militia to control major cities, almost including Bahar Dar. So facilitated. That means Prosperity Party Amara branch is not happy the way Abiy Ahmed is leading, even though they are not saying it loudly, but they are supporting this movement, and also the diaspora community, well organized financially, politically, to support Fano. But finally, before the region was almost collapsing, the federal government declared a state of emergency and sent, whatever they have, whatever left over from Tigray and the Oromia war. Now they are conducting heavy military operation against the Amara Fanos particularly, and also the civilians are the victim now. So this is a very challenging situation, and we pay the price because we are not speaking with one voice. When one is attacked, the others are silent. So Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed is using this as an advantage to stay in power and to create the continuity of bloodshed, destruction, and other atrocities on Ethiopians. So Ethiopians has no future at all, no future. The new generation has no future of getting, employment, getting scholarship at home and abroad, and most of them, they want to run away from Ethiopia to Saudi Arabia or United Arab Emirates or Turkey, wherever the opening they get. There is no hope in that country as long as this prime minister and the Prosperity Party stays in power. So definitely a leadership change is needed, but I don't know how we're gonna get it. It's a very bad. Ethiopia is upside down under this prime minister. Very bad country, and economically in a very tough situation. There is no money. There is no money to import medicine and other important products. And there is no money for Ethiopians to go abroad because of the limited, foreign currency. There is no dollar, and it's very tough. And also, the diplomatic relationship is still in a bad way. Uh, you know, a very limited diplomatic relationship, and then there is no good news about Ethiopia, and Ethiopia is still in a very deep debt, foreign debt, about $60.6 billion. It's a huge money. So I don't know how we're gonna pay all this money unless the International Monetary Fund, give us some excuses and restructuring or something. If not, it's totally the country is collapsing. Plus, we are waging a civil war now in Amara. We don't know who is next because the others are now supporting Prosperity Party, standing with Prosperity Party, on the war going on in Amara region. So uh, it's very tough, and we don't know how many killed, but so far, hundreds killed and hundreds injured, according to some rough information coming from that area. And the heavy bombardment still continue, and claim and counter claim about victory by Fano and victory by the government is going on. And because we don't have any independent media, or both sides are claiming victory, and Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed is not allowing international media, independent media to report. So the world cannot get clear picture. This is a challenge we have, and is a very unhappy, unfortunate situation happening in Ethiopia, and Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed is still there. Concerned citizens in media, demanded his resignation long time ago. Now we have another war. I hope it will not be like the Tigray war, the rape, the destruction of properties, and a lot of abuses. Happen in Tigray, but I hope this will not happen in Amara. I hope it will be settled uh, very in a very short period of time. That is a hope, but we will see. After that, then the Ethiopians should come together and discuss the leadership skill of this prime minister, and they should have a vote of confidence, really, if he is fit to lead the country, or he should resign. They have a right. They have the constitutional right to demand his resignation, but they are silent. They are, paying the price for that. So the parliament is getting together, I think. It's called an emergency meeting. We'll see what they're going to say. I'm sure they just support the war, and nothing expected, but we'll see what they're going to say. So that's the general characterization of Ethiopia today. Ethiopia under Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, is going down to the toilet, upside down, since he came to power. And this Prosperity Party and the Prime Minister, they don't feel about those days and the destruction. You remember Haile Mariam Desalegn, the former Prime Minister, before even 1/4 of the damage happened like this, he resigned for the sake of the country. But too much happening since then, and the Prime Minister stays in power. That's the challenge we have. Very bad challenge. Okay, let's continue. So that's the tragic news, the tragic update I have for you. Let me read some from Addis Standard, couple of news I got from Addis Standard, so I always appreciate Addis Standard for my reference. And before I read, let's listen to this Amharic talking about curfews and other restrictions in Amara region, and I have the translation here. Let's listen to it. Just very short one.
እዚህ ያስተላለፉ ትዕዛዝና ክልከላዎችን በእሱ ይፋ ተደርጓል።
የህዝብን ሰላምና ደህንነት ለማስጠበቅ የወጣ የሚኒስትሮች ምክር ቤት የአስቸኳይ ጊዜ አዋጅ ቁጥር 6/2015 አንቀጽ 5 መሰረት የአስቸኳይ ጊዜ ጠቅላይ መምሪያ አዞ የሚከተሉትን ትዕዛዞችና ክልከላዎችን ደንግጓል።
በባህር ዳር፣ በጎንደር፣ ደብረ ብርሃን፣ ደብረ ማርቆስ፣ ሸዋሮቢትና ላሊበላ የህዝብ የአገልግሎት ሰጪ የመንግስት የማህበረሰብና የንግድ ተቋማት ከነሐሴ 4 2015 ጀምሮ ክፍት እንዲሆኑ ታዟል።
በባህር ዳር፣ ጎንደር፣ ደብረ ብርሃን፣ ደብረ ማርቆስ፣ ሸዋሮቢትና ላሊበላ እስከ ነሐሴ 17 2015 የሚቆይ የሰዓት እላፊ ገደብ ተጥሏል።
በዚህ መሰረት የድንገተኛ ህክምና አገልግሎት ከሚሰጡ ተሽከርካሪዎች፣ የድንገተኛ ህክምና አገልግሎት ሰጪ ባለሙያዎችና የጸጥታ አስከባሪ ተቋማት ባልደረቦች ውጪ ለማንኛውም ሰውና ተሽከርካሪ ከምሽቱ 1 ሰዓት በኋላ መንቀሳቀስ በጥብቅ የተከለከለ ነው።
የአስቸኳይ ጊዜ ጠቅላይ መምሪያ እዙ ፈቃድ ውጪ በአማራ ብሔራዊ ክልላዊ ከተሞች አደባባይ ሰልፍና መሰል እንቅስቃሴዎችን ማድረግ ፈጽሞ የተከለከለ ነው። እንዲሁም በማንኛውም መልኩ የህዝብ እንቅስቃሴን የሚያስተጓጉልና የትራንስፖርት አገልግሎትን የሚያሰናክል ድርጊት በጥብቅ የተከለከለ ነው።
በአማራ ብሔራዊ ክልል ውስጥ ለጸጥታ ስራ ከሚንቀሳቀሱ የህግ አስከባሪ አካላትና ከነዚህ አካላት ፈቃድ ውጪ የጦር መሳሪያ ይዞ መዘዋወርም ፈጽሞ የተከለከለ ነው።
በአማራ ብሔራዊ ክልል ከላይ በተራ ቁጥር 1 በተገለጹት ከተሞች የባጃጅና የሞተር ሳይክል እንቅስቃሴ ከነሐሴ 4 እስከ ነሐሴ 17 2015 ድረስ ፈጽሞ የተከለከለ ነው።
ከባጃጆችና ከሞተር ሳይክሎች በስተቀር ሌሎች የከተማ ትራንስፖርት አገልግሎት ሰጪዎች ከነሐሴ 4 ጀምሮ ወደ ስራ የመመለስና አገልግሎት የመስጠት ግዴታ አለባቸው።
በአስቸኳይ ጊዜ አዋጁ ሽፋን ከአስቸኳይ ጊዜ ጠቅላይ መምሪያ እዝ ትዕዛዝ ውጪ ወቅታዊ ሁኔታን ሰበብ በማድረግ ግለሰቦችን ከመደበኛው ህግ አግባብ ውጪ ማሰርና ማቆየት፣ የንግድ ቤቶችን ማሸግና መሰል እርምጃዎችን መውሰድ በጥብቅ የተከለከለ ነው።
ከላይ የተዘረዘሩትን ትዕዛዞችና ክልከላዎችን በሚጥሱ ላይ በአስቸኳይ ጊዜ አዋጁ አንቀጽ 7 መሰረት ኃይልን በመጠቀም እንዲሁም ሌሎች አግባብነት ያላቸውን እርምጃዎች በመውሰድ ትዕዛዝና ክልከላዎችን እንዲያስፈጽሙ ለሁሉም የህግ አስከባሪ አካላት ጥብቅ መመሪያ ተሰጥቷል።
The Kenyan government on.
Okay, I will come back to the next video after I read this. So some of the announcement made in Amharic is included in this Addis Standard English translation. Let me read what it says. Amara State of Emergency Command impose curfews in multiple cities, order resumption of businesses. The State of Emergency General Command Post of the Amara Regional State has imposed curfews in major cities and towns and issued notice public service providers, government, community and commercial establishment in Bahar Dar, Gondar, Debre Brahan, Debre Marcos, Shoarobit and Lalibela cities to resume work as of tomorrow, 10 August, which means starting today. Shortly before announcing the curfew with movement restrictions, the command post announced that measures has been taken and the rule of law has been restored in the aforementioned cities against the Fano militia that has been engaged in military hostilities with the government forces for the last 5 days, calling the local militia bandit group. The command post claimed it has received support from the local communities to drive out the Fano armed combatant the city centers. Currently, the cities are free from the threat of the bandits. The defense forces and the law enforcement agencies of the region are clearing these robbers from the respective establishment. The community is supporting this work by giving information and doing whatever it can. The defeated group of extremists is trying to hide inside heritage sites and religious institutions in some areas, the command post said. The announcement was with the imposition of a curfew has been imposed which will last through 23rd August and covers Bahar Dar, Gondar, Debre Birhan, Debre Marqos, Shoa Robit, and Lalibela. According to movements of people and vehicles are accordingly, movements of people and vehicles are restricted after 7 p.m. local time, except for emergency medical service vehicles, emergency medical service professionals, and authorities of security institutions. Three-wheeled bajaj or taxis and motorcycles have been banned from operating in the cities, while other city transport service providers are required to return to work and provide services as of tomorrow. Furthermore, restrictions are placed on public meetings, parades, and similar activities in the region without permission, as well as actions that disrupt public movement and disrupt transportation service in any way. Today's announcement is the second official announcement after Temasgen Turune, Director General National Intelligence and Security Service (NISS) and the leader of the military command post admitted on 6 August that armed groups operating in the region have taken control of some zones, woredas, districts, and towns in the region. Temasgen also revealed that the armed forces, who he said referred to as robbery force, have also released criminals from prison in some places. He accused them of operating to dismantle the regional state government with a broader goal of moving onto the federal system. The regional state is under a state of emergency approved by the Council of Ministers, but is yet to be approved by the House of People Representatives. The military decree will primarily be implemented in the Amara regional state, but in the wake of situations that exacerbate the security crisis in the region or nationwide, it can be implemented anywhere in the country, according to Gideon Timotheus, Minister of Justice. So that is the report on emergency declaration and restriction on movement of people and gathering, demonstration, and other activities, plus forcing people to open their business. I don't know how they're going to do it under such serious circumstances. This one is about EZEMA accuses ruling Prosperity Party of fueling unresolved issues crisis in Ethiopia. EZEMA, which is a party led by Dr. Brown, and is a friend of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. So how are they going to accuse? Ethiopian Citizens for Social Justice, in short, EZEMA, has made grave accusation against the ruling Prosperity Party, holding it responsible for the unresolved and critical issues currently plaguing Ethiopia. In an official statement issued today, EZEMA highlighted the lack of a cohesive position and efficacy within the Prosperity Party as a significant factor contributing to the prevailing state of disharmony and instability within the nation. EZEMA highlighted the deteriorating unity within the ruling party as the primary driver of the current crisis, particularly in the Amhara region. In recent months, armed clashes between government forces and the non-state Fano militia have escalated in Amhara. Yildiz Kafale, president of the Amhara region, expressed apprehension last week regarding the detrimental effect of road blockades and movement restrictions on the local population. He underscored the far-reaching social, economic, and political ramifications, emphasizing that the conflict has led to extensive destruction and a significant loss of human life. According to a statement from EZEMA, the situation in the Amhara region has worsened due to the government's inadequate fulfillment of its responsibilities. The statement emphasized that years of unresolved resentment, abuse, and despair have played a role in the region's current predicament. Additionally, EZEMA accused the government of insufficiently addressing past grievances and concerns, resulting in heightened tensions and plunging the country into its present crisis. According to EZEMA, the ongoing crisis in Ethiopia, which commenced in 2015, has been characterized by a persistent dependence on the state of emergency as a strategy to alleviate tensions and reinstate stability. The opposition party further highlighted that Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's administration, since assuming power, has extensively employed this approach to address numerous crises and conflicts throughout the country. As this is right. On August 4th, 2023, the Council of Ministers unanimously approved a decision to implement a state of emergency in the restive Amhara regional state. For several months, the region has been plagued by an escalating conflict between the government forces and the non-state Fano militia. The Council's response follows an urgent plea from Yildiz, who on 3rd August 2023 formally requested intervention from the federal government to tackle the rapidly worsening security crisis. The government's repeated failure to fulfill its obligation has resulted in utilization of this repetitive strategy, according to the opposition party. As a result, EZEMA contends that declaring a state of emergency will ultimately prove ineffective in achieving its intended goals. In addition to the ongoing conflict, the opposition party has raised concerns about the government's alleged role in significant human rights violations. According to the party, these violations often take place under the guise of utilizing state of emergency measures. EZEMA argues that these actions serve as a key driver of the conflict, demanding immediate attention. Very good press release, but where is Dr. Branu Naga? Is he resigning in opposition to this war, or they just releasing such a very nice letter or statement? So they are part of the government, EZEMA. So they are blaming themselves. or just blaming Prosperity Party. They are supporting Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. Dr. Branu Naga is, is Ministry of Education under Prosperity Party. So what they are talking about, he should resign if the system is not working, if Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed is employing state of emergency to rule the country. Leave the position and, continue demanding a better leadership. While you are supporting, working with it doesn't work in that way. This one again from Addis Standard. Authorities in Tigray region dispute reports of resumption of food aid by WFP. So they are denying. The Associated Press reported that the World Food Programme, WFP, has resumed delivering food aid in the conflict-stricken Tigray region 3 months after suspending aid due to allegation of food theft and diversion. As per AFP, the United Nations agency has begun providing 15-kilogram pre-packaged bags of wheat to over 100,000 individuals residing in 4 districts of Tigray, while confirming the resumption of some aid work in certain parts of the region. Gabrahiyot Gabrexahabir, PhD, the commissioner of the Disaster Risk Management Commission of Tigray, clarified to Addis Standard that it should not be perceived as a resumption of the suspended food aid, as reported by the international media. Instead, it is the resumption of the safety net program. According to Gabrahiyot, the action taken by WFP have been mistakenly depicted as the reinstallment of humanitarian assistance. Gabrahiyot argues that humanitarian aid does not impose any obligations on the recipient, whereas safety net programs involve individuals participating in a specific public work activities. The Productive Safety Net Program, PSNP, has been in operation in the Tigray region since 2004 and has provided assistance to nearly 1 million individuals. Unfortunately, the program was temporarily halted as a result of the conflict that arose in November 2020 between the federal government and the Tigray region forces. According to Gabrahiyot, the recently reinstated safety net program now extends its coverage to 4 waradas situated in the northwest and southern regions of Tigray. These waradas include Asgide, Simbala, Tahitai, Adiabo, and Raya Azebo. According to AP, however, the slow resumption of aid as a pilot project has been launched to trial enhanced monitoring measures by the World Food Programme WFP. The WFP has implemented improved controls and measures to tackle the issue at hand, aiming to ensure the effective delivery of food assistance. To prevent aid from falling into the wrong hands, the test distribution incorporates heightened security procedures such as supply tracking and digital registration of recipient, as reported by AP. The development came 3 months after 2 major aid agencies, WFP and the United States Agency for International Development, USAID, USAID announced the suspension of food aid for a war-stricken region amidst allegations of food diversion, despite WFP's effort to address the distribution challenge. Officials from USAID have confirmed that food assistance in Ethiopia remains suspended. According to Janine Davis, the Deputy Assistant Administrator for the Bureau of Africa, the suspension of aid distribution will persist while investigations and negotiations are underway. Davis further stated last week that there is currently no specific date for when the assistance will resume. The suspension of aid delivery has placed millions of lives in jeopardy, especially those residing in internally displaced people centers and host communities. More than 5 million people in Tigray have been awaiting aid for the past 2 years as a result of the ongoing war. Among them, 2.3 million are internally displaced persons who receive support from the WFP across 643 sites and host communities. However, due to the suspension of humanitarian assistance, at least 1.2 million of these internally displaced people are now leaving their designated sites and seeking food in other major cities in the region. According to Gabrayot, since the halt of humanitarian assistance in Tigray, more than 1,300 individuals have lost their lives due to starvation and related factors. So that is the tragic consequences of war. The last one about Niger. The US and the UN are concerned about the health and safety of Niger's elected president Mahmoud Bazoum, who has spent more than 2 weeks under house arrest. In the quotation, it says, "We are greatly worried about his health and his personal safety and the personal safety of his family." End of quotation. A U.S. State Department spokesman said. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres also said he was concerned, including about the reportedly deplorable living conditions the family were in. Mr. Bazoum was deposed on 26 July. Earlier, Mr. Bazoum's party said he and his family were being detained under cruel and inhumane conditions, Reuters reported. Since then, a military junta has ruled Niger, while Mr. Bazoum has been kept in the presidential palace. Members of the junta have made no comment about the ousted leader's condition. On Tuesday, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken called Mr. Bazoum, assuring him of the U.S. ongoing support, Washington said. U.S. State Department spokesman Matthew Miller added, as time goes on, as he held in isolation, it is a situation that is of growing concern to us. Mr. Bazoum's political party, PNDS, Taraya, claimed in a statement that Mr. Bazoum and his family had no access to running water, electricity, fresh food, or doctors. That's terrible. The statement echoed previous comments made by Niger's elected Prime Minister Oumoudou Mahmoud, who has said Mr. Bazoum was being held with his wife and a son without electricity or water. The Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, had given Niger's coup leaders until Sunday to stand down and restore Mr. Bazoum to the presidency. The head of the Presidential Guard, General Abdurrahman Tachiani, claims he now runs Niger, while the junta appointed ex-finance minister Ali Mohamed Lamine Zein as the new prime minister following the coup. ECOWAS officials are due to meet on Thursday to decide what to do next. The new military regime has also closed Niger's airspace until further notice, citing the threat of military intervention from ECOWAS. On Wednesday, France denied accusation from Niger's military junta that it was trying to destabilize the country. Coup leaders claimed French aircraft had breached the country's airspace and French soldiers had freed captured jihadists in order to attack military positions. In quotation, France firmly denies the new unfounded accusation by the Pacists in Niger, the French Defense and Foreign Ministries said in a joint statement quoted by AFP news agency. They added that the flight had been authorized by the Niger's military. Both the US and France operate military bases in Niger as part of operations to disrupt jihadist groups operating in the wider region. Niger became the main base for French troops after they were told to leave Mali following a coup there. So that is the situation concerning the ousted president of Niger by military coup, just like Burkina Faso and other Mali. So military coup is common in West African country. And last time some media reported the prime minister rushed out of the Russian meeting because of some kind of suspicion of coup. So he is very serious, very nervous about the position. You don't want to lose. You don't want to, you want to be a king forever. So he's very sensitive. So, but the country is dying under his leadership. He should consider resigning and just, be accountable for all these deaths and the destruction happening in that. I hope we want to see one day. I hope. Yes, he cannot escape all these atrocities taking place under his leadership. His failed leadership, really. He was a messiah. He's very well spoken, very articulative. Honey was coming from his mouth when he came to power in 2018. But in his heart, he was evil. How many people died? How many? Uncounted. The only thing we know is this officially. Those well-known public figures like artist Hachalu Hundeessa, those generals, and a lawyer, Abdul Jabbar Hussein, and other significant, well-known. We don't know about the others because we don't have the way to know. So many taken from prison and killed under his leadership. So too much blood in his hand anyway. Let's continue with a couple of videos I selected for you for today's presentation and end it. Thank you again for coming back. Let's see
Wednesday signed bilateral air services agreement with the neighboring Federal Republic of Somalia. Roads and Transport Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen says that the two nations reached consensus months after they reviewed the agreement in March. The agreement paves way for designated airlines to operate 7 weekly frequencies for passengers flights on specified routes and an unlimited frequency of cargo flights. The agreement was signed by Somalia's Minister of Transport and Civil Aviation, Fardosa Osman.
This is what we need for Ethiopia. Not war, not mass arrest, not destruction, no civil war. Engagement, good engagement with the neighbors in business, transportation, scholarship.
With our counterparts, the government of Somalia and our sister country, bilateral air service agreement. We can operate 7 flights, weekly frequencies of airlines that have been scheduled based on the annexes that we have in this agreement. We have also agreed that there will be something called code sharing, that the airlines of our two countries can enter into a code share arrangement to see how they can assist each other in carrying of passengers cargo between the two countries.
Our two countries are sisterly country, and I think this agreement will make it strong, our partnership and our collaborations.
Let's brew some beer.
We grow the barley that makes your beer.
I grow the rice.
So breaking news from South Africa, but relating to a British man, the FCDO, a spokesperson for the FCDO, says that we are supporting the family of a British man who has died in South Africa and are in contact with the local authorities. Now, this is following officials saying that a British doctor is among 5 people who've been shot dead in taxi protests in South Africa. The 40-year-old victim was reportedly a doctor who was on holiday in the country, and he was, according to officials, killed in the Langano Crescent area of Cape Town last Thursday. It is believed that he took a wrong turn from the nearby airport while he was driving 2 other people. A group then approached the vehicle and shot him. 5 separate murders have been recorded during this unrest just outside of Cape Town. It's sparked by a week-long strike by those minibus taxi drivers. The Taxis National Union say that they're angry at what is called heavy-handed tactics by police and city authorities in impounding vehicles. They're saying that the members are not instigating the violence. But back to that news, officials say a British doctor who was on holiday in South Africa has been shot in that unrest. It happened in the Langano Crescent area of Cape Town last Thursday, and an FCDO spokesperson says that we are supporting the family of a British man who has died in South Africa, and we are in contact with the local authorities. The latest there.
It is an unprecedented scene here. The blaze, fanned by Category 4 Hurricane Dora, has spread across Hawaii's Big Island and the holiday island of Maui. This tourist destination is home to more than 160,000 people. Fast-moving, unpredictable flames have consumed hundreds of acres. Structures have been damaged, homes destroyed, and a population evacuated. People have had to jump into the ocean to escape the fire, and there have been fatalities.
It was confirmed we've had 6 fatalities that we were able to confirm, and we are still in a search and rescue mode, and so I don't know what will happen to that number.
Evacuation and rescue efforts have been hampered by damage to communications. Mobile phone towers have been brought down by the fire. The 911 emergency service is disconnected across a wide area. Residents have complained they were not notified in advance of the spread of the fire. There are reports of people running down streets screaming as they were caught close to the blaze. The main airport on the island of Maui remains open, but it now doubles as a shelter for 2,000 people evacuated from their homes. The hurricane winds fanning the flames have combined with recent near-drought conditions in parts of Hawaii to enable the fires to accelerate. Casualties, including burn victims, have been flown to nearby Honolulu for treatment. It is a deteriorating, dangerous situation. James Matthews, Sky News.
Okay, so the last one is about the tragic fire in Hawaii. You know, it's terrible, really. There's not that much positive news available to share with you. So let me conclude today's presentation by saying Ethiopians, I hope after this war concluded in a very short period of time, they should come together, see the way out for the future. Is it the country in a better hand, or is the country is in a worst hand under Prosperity Party? That is a serious discussion they should conduct after the war with Fano is over. And we don't know how the war in Oromia will end. That's also a very serious one, underreported. So we have so many challenges, so many very serious challenges under Abiy Ahmed leadership, under Prosperity Party. They just think their CIA, their police, the federal army, save them forever. Help them to conduct the killing, to conduct the detention, all kind of, brutal activity they are conducting on Ethiopians. So the Ethiopians seriously should consider, should discuss seriously the way out. What are the strategy? How can they demand the resignation of Prosperity Party and the leader Abiy Ahmed? I think that's the only thing, the only way out. If the silence continue, tomorrow will be another war in Afar or in Somalia region, or maybe in Benishangul Gumuz. We don't know who is next. So silence must end in Ethiopia, and the Ethiopians should come together and avoid this, hateful speech and this claim of properties, falsely claiming properties, Fanos, Amara militias, claiming Wolaga, claiming Devazade, claiming blah blah. This will not help Ethiopians to save themselves. The country is dying. The country is in a very bad shape. They should understand. There is no hope for Ethiopians. No hope at all. The country is, as I said, in a very deep debt, foreign debt, and inflation, high unemployment. Nothing good under Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and the Prosperity Party. So that's concerned citizens' advice for Ethiopians if they want to come out of this very serious downstream situation of Ethiopia. If not, we're gonna see another war after another war, next war, and more devastation, more killing, more ethnic-based violence, and more genocide in that country. Thank you for joining me today. I'm glad to be back next time with another news update. So I missed you for a while, but I'm back anyway. Thank you for coming back. See you again. Be safe. So long, everyone.